Dame was born into a world that despised him from his very first breath. As a Prum, one of the smallest and most fragile races, he watched his parents and companions bow before other races, accepting humiliation and abuse as something natural. Even as a child, he observed with revulsion the resignation of his people, who seemed to live without any hope. Unlike everyone else, Dame did not accept that fate. With uncommon intelligence, he nurtured within himself a fierce mixture of pride and anger, believing that being small did not mean being weak. While other Prums bowed their heads, he sought knowledge. He would sneak into the elder's house to devour books and ancient legends, especially about Fianna, a Prum heroine who had once defied the impossible. With each page, the desire to change the course of his race grew in his heart. He challenged those who despised him, even if it earned him punches and kicks. Nothing seemed capable of breaking his determination, neither fear nor pain. Her blue eyes, intense as the fire of a promise, reflected the soul of someone who refused to live on their knees. But life in her village would soon show her the cruel weight of reality. At 10 years old, Dame believed she was ready to prove her worth, and it was in that year that everything would change. That morning, the sun had barely touched the sky when the shouts began. Dame ran out of the small house and saw the ground tremble with heavy footsteps. A group of adventurers, arrogant men and elves, were invading the village, laughing as they knocked down tents and kicked the villagers as if they were toys. They said they were looking for an ancient relic, something that useless race was hiding. Dame tried to confront them, grabbing a small spear that she could barely hold. The spear, however, flew from her hand with the first blow. She fell to the ground, her body bruised and her pride wounded. He watched helplessly as his friends and family were beaten, and his mother's house was set on fire. He screamed for help, but no one came. The adults just hid, trembling with fear. When the fire finally subsided, all that remained was the smell of ashes and shame. His wounded mother tried to comfort him, saying it was better to accept the fate of the Pruns, that fighting would only bring more pain. But to Dame, those words sounded like betrayal. He swore he would never run away again. That same day, as the sun set behind the ruins, he promised himself that he would step on the heads of the gods, if necessary, to change the world. And, for the first time, his heart ceased to be just that of a boy, becoming that of someone willing to defy his own destiny. The days that followed the destruction of the village marked the beginning of Dame's transformation. The young Prun, who had previously only dreamed of innocent adventures, began to see the world with different eyes. He wandered among the wreckage, gathering what remained of his family's belongings, but what he truly carried was the weight of hatred and powerlessness. He resolved that he would never be weak again. He began training alone, using pieces of wood as swords and tree trunks as targets. He fell and bled, but each wound strengthened him. At night, he gazed at the sky, remembering the adventurers and the gods who protected them. He came to hate that unjust force that placed some above others. One day, a wounded adventurer appeared near the ruins of the village, asking for help. Dame observed him, and for a moment, the old instinct of compassion tried to emerge. But when the man mentioned that he was a follower of a god, Dame merely observed him in silence and turned his back. He left him to die there, alone. At that moment, something within him solidified. He was no longer just a wounded boy. He was the beginning of a man shaped by resentment, by the memory that the world only respected strength. He vowed to conquer enough power to never have to bow down again. And so, the first trace of the warrior who would one day make even the gods fear his name was born. Years passed, and the boy who once wept among the ashes of his village became a man who carried in his heart the weight of the past and the glow of hope. Now known as Fin Dame, he had left behind a rebellious boy and embraced a new purpose, to be the light that would guide his people, the Prums, toward their lost dignity. The memory of his parents, who gave their lives to save him, became fuel for an unwavering determination. Each scar, each pain, shaped the hero that was born within him. As Fin took his first steps in a new world, fate was plotting something grand. In the same mortal realm where he wandered in search of strength, a goddess with red hair and a mischievous gaze emerged from the sky. Loki. Enchanted by the chaotic energy of humans, she wished to found her own family, gathering adventurers worthy of her name. And, at some point in this vast world, their paths were destined to cross. Thus began the legend of Finn Dame, the boy who defied his destiny, the boy who became a symbol of courage and hope, the one who would one day be called Finn Braver, the hero whose light would be born from the deepest darkness.